That's another thing. But Prabhupada's not saying that. Krishna doesn't say to Arjuna that you become a Brahmin, because it's not possible. So you really have to do some internal soul searching to determine you're a Brahmin. Astrology is helpful, yes, if you have a good astrologer. But it has to come really from you. I mean, if you're forced to do something you don't want to do, your real nature will come out eventually, or you'll get depressed or frustrated. Yeah.
This morning we read a section of Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada in purpose he says that you have to be very careful to choose an Uttamanikari as your spiritual master. So, Prabhupada is an Uttamanikari, Siddhanta is an Uttamanikari.
Yeah.
Could you give a definition of...
Yes, I mean, all of us, it's very interesting, all of us in ISKCON are choosing Prabhupada as our ultimate source of information, Shiksha. Shiksha connection is more important than Diksha connection. We may be initiated, I mean, our initiating guru may be an Uttamanikari. I'm not saying that nobody is. We may not. I'm not passing judgment on anybody. However, Siksha is most important. And so we all take shelter of Prabhupada. We've all accepted Prabhupada as our guru. But if we just accept Prabhupada and don't take guidance from anyone else, even if we're initiated by Prabhupada, we need the Vaishnava Sangha to take guidance from other devotees. I mean, I have many godbrothers I go to. I ask you, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And we take guidance from each other. Like Prabhupada said, we're like many sticks. If one stick is by itself, it can be broken. If you keep them all together, you can't break them. So we all need to accept at least Shiksha gurus from even our peers, you know, the people who are our friends, like that, or from others. But Prabhupada is our ultimate source of Shiksha, so I think everybody who's a bona fide member of ISKCON should be accepting Prabhupada as the primary Shiksha. And that's, of course, GBC rule too. But so in this way, we're all safe. And then let's say, well, you say, I really want to take Diksha from an Uttamanikari too. Yeah, you may be thinking like that. All right. So then you have to come up with an Uttamanikari test. That's kind of hard. I mean, you can see externally up to the level of Nishta. That you can see. Nishta means steady, 24 hours a day. But what is your Uttamanikari test? And with Prabhupada, it's very easy. You know, he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He got every town and village chanting Hare Krishna. Nobody could do that except for Uttamanikari. Yeah, that's good. But for the rest of everybody else, what would you do? Stick a pin in someone and see if they feel pain? Or you ask someone, you know, have you been dancing with Krishna last night? I mean, it's hard for me. I mean, sometimes people outside of ISKCON say, therefore you have to accept Uttamanikari, so take initiation outside of ISKCON. It's a political thing, you know. But how do you know? How do you know they're Uttamanikari? And plus, if you're accepting Prabhupada, Prabhupada actually said to stay, your love will be tested, famous quote, by staying within his institution in Prabhupada's society and cooperating. So that's Prabhupada's instruction to us. And we're all meant to be Shishas, I mean, the students of this Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And we're safe that way. We're safe because initiation is not as important as Siksha or instruction. And you find, let's go to the Ramanuja Sampradaya, for example. Sripad Ramanujacharya is the Acharya. But there are so many gurus now who initiate you, but they all focus, everyone focuses on Ramanujacharya. Yeah. And one of the reasons, I'm getting into a little ISKCON history, one of the reasons this has been a little confusing was because of the dynamic that naturally occurs when a charismatic person leaves this world. In the study of sociology of religion, there's something called the charismatic phase and the post-charismatic phase. If you've ever studied sociology of religion. In the charismatic phase, you have a leader like Prabhupada, or like Jesus Christ, or like any of these founders of the religions, like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, who start a whole society based on their, not mundane charisma, spiritual charisma. But then, what happens is when they leave, there's two things that can happen. One is, you get people who try to imitate them. The next group of leaders tries to imitate them and become acharyas on their own. That's what happened with the Gaudiya Math. And they split up into many different Gaudiya Maths. And many of them are great devotees. It's not meant as a criticism of anyone. But they split up. Because basically they thought the only way to spread Krishna consciousness was to be like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and be your own acharya. Whereas that was not Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's instruction. His instruction was to manage together, not to have an acharya, have gurus but no acharyas. So ISKCON to a certain extent went through that phase too, where you had the initial gurus in ISKCON who pretty much assumed positions of acharyas with a big A. And that caused a lot of division and confusion in the society. That was the initial stage. But of course, that happens practically in every religious institution with the post-charismatic phase. And then the next phase is called the institutionalization of charisma phase. I'm speaking about sociology now. Because ISKCON is a classic case of the sociology of religion. It's not different. I mean, there's certain dynamics that occur in this world that in sociology, they're just there, group dynamics. So what happened is that in this next stage, which we're going through right now, is the charisma or the attraction is invested in the original founder and his society. And that's really where we're going to now in ISKCON. Whereas the emphasis on the Diksha Guru will not be, and it is diminishing right now, on the fanaticism that my Diksha Guru is better than your Diksha Guru. In Gaudiya Math, they even had fights about it. In front of the deities, one disciple was chanting another Diksha Guru's pranam mantra, and they started punching each other. My guru, no, my guru. Like little kids, my father, no, my father's stronger than your father. So it's a rather immature. The charismatic phase is also characterized by immaturity. Like when Prabhupada was on the planet, Prabhupada's a pure devotee, but there's so much immaturity in the movement. People think we have problems now, but when Prabhupada was on the planet, Prabhupada was having to break up fights between devotees all the time. And, one devotee started the temple, the temple grew, and then he sold the temple and ran away with the money. I can tell you so many stories of things that occurred. You had Tamal Krishna, who was a great devotee. He was stealing devotees from temples. Had to get sent to China by Prabhupada. We had all sorts of interesting things happen in our society. There was a lot of immaturity. Now there's much more maturity. So there's different stages of growth. And we're going through the normal stage of growth right now, which is a healthy stage if we want to be here 1,000 years from now. And that's the institutionalization of charisma, where we see Prabhupada, who's Prabhupada's society, we remain faithful to the society, and the Diksha Guru is seen as a function of the society. That's an interesting dynamic. In the same way, as a function of the society, as a person who works for the society, rather than an independently self-effulgent, 1,000 lumens. You know what a lumen is? A lumen is a measure of brightness. So like, oh, my guru is as bright as the sun. My guru is as bright as 10,000 suns. So he's seen as a cooperative member of a cooperative society. And this is healthy. It's healthy. And then we all work together. It doesn't matter who your initiating guru is as far as working. You know, I don't. To me, it doesn't matter. Like even for myself, you know, I have some disciples, but I don't even notice the difference between the people who are my disciples and people who are other people's disciples. I treat everybody the same. It's not. Even sometimes people say, you know, I'm in a certain place where I have disciples, and they say, you should have a disciple meeting. I say, I'm not going to have a disciple meeting. I'll meet with all the devotees. Because, you know, we're all part of the same team. This factionalism is really something we don't want. You know, we can take inspiration from different people, but we don't want it to cause factions in a society. So we have Prabhupada and Jamadakari. Other people maybe. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I don't want to judge anyone. Any other questions? Yeah.
What are the qualifications for a disciple?
Qualifications for a disciple? That a disciple should a disciple should make, I'm just going by what Maharaj said, make his home an ashram, whether he or she is living in the temple or outside the temple, to make the home a place of Krishna. It's called Gurukula, place of the Guru. Not only, Gurukula doesn't mean school, it means a place of the Guru. Brahmachari Gurukule was another Guroritam. And learn that whatever one does should be for the benefit, Guroritam, of the Guru. That I'm working, of course the Guru is transparently representing Krishna and in the cyclic succession. Like someone had, yeah, here's an interesting story that recently occurred to me. Someone wrote to me, this happens all the time actually, someone wrote to me and said, well, I just discovered I'm a gopi in the spiritual world.
Oh, Krishna.
And, you know, they actually told me, you know, which group gopis they were in and everything like that. I said, oh, I said, oh, that's very nice. I said, I just discovered I'm a servant of Prabhupada. And they said, well, but what about your spiritual body? And they said, well, I like to hang around with Narada Muni too. And preach and serve Prabhupada life after life. So really, yes, of course one does begin to understand after some time, hopefully what they are in the spiritual world, but the predominant concentration is rendering service. Like Prabhupada said, deserve then desire. So we render service to the Guru. The Guru is representing Krishna, and I just like to identify myself as a servant. Gopi Varta Pada Kamala, Dasa Dasa, Dasa Dasa, right? Yeah. So that's, you're safe when you do that. So that's Gauraritam and Archyanam. He has learned good behavior. Good behavior means when Prabhupada said, he was asked, what are the qualities of your disciple? Prabhupada said, he or she is a perfect gentleman or lady. In other words, not only good behavior with sadhana, but whoever meets us should think, here's the perfect gentleman, you know. Here's someone I really like. You know, there's so many stories about Prabhupada I can tell where people met Prabhupada, and then even 20 years later they said, where's that person I met? They didn't even know who he was. He was so nice. There's so many stories about that. He was so nice. Wow, where is he now? And even they're not devotees or whatever. And so, dasaman, another one is dasaman. That means service, full of service, not only for the Guru, but service to everyone. We are servants of everyone. In different ways. Of course, we render service to humanity too. We render service to the other devotees. We engage in loving exchanges. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, isn't it? Dadati prajagadati guriyamakyati prijati mukte voshite charva. Giving gifts, accepting gifts, loving exchanges with other devotees and with people in general. I mean, we go out there. Actually, I just read a statement by someone who wasn't a devotee. He said, I've never met a stranger. I've only met people that I haven't met before. I've only met friends that I haven't met before. Can you imagine? That's a nice statement, isn't it? That you say, I've never met anyone who is a stranger. I've only met people, friends that I haven't met before. It's wonderful. So it's a dasana. So these are the qualities of a disciple. Of course, the actual Sanskrit for disciple is shisha, which comes from the root shash, which means discipline. In other words, you're disciplined by using your intelligence to manifest these qualities. So that's a disciple. Of course, we can use the word obedient, but most of you don't like that word. That's a bad word nowadays. You know, if you say to someone, you should be obedient, then someone will say, what do you think, I am, a dog? Because you have a dog, you have obedience training. You understand? It's like, at least in English, when you hear this word obedience, you just want, like that, you picture someone going like that, like a dog. So we don't use certain words like obedience or, you know, or even the word master is kind of hard for people nowadays. You say, he's my spiritual master. Therefore, we just say guru. We just say guru. That's politically correct. Because originally in the Vedic culture, in India, the wife would call the husband Swami, which means master. They don't do that anymore, I don't think. They just say, hey you! Where's the money? But it's true. I mean, it's such a nice culture because the wife would say to the husband, Swami or Prabhu, and the husband would call the wife Priya, which is actually very sweet. Nowadays, they just use their names, which is not a sweet relationship. So anyway, so there's certain terms that in presenting Krishna consciousness we may want to be careful about using. So we just say I say the spiritual master facilitates the devotee's Krishna consciousness, which is true, rather than saying the spiritual master is the boss, which is not really true, because Prabhupada said, blind following and absurd inquiries are to be condemned. So we don't want blind following. One has a right to ask the spiritual master. Any other questions? Yeah.
One instruction Prabhupada is very much touching me. He says, ISKCON is a society to live independent from outside help, producing our own grains, our milk. It is my second phase. So, related to that, then how much it is important today, and how much we can, in a modern society, implement the natural qualities of our character.
That's a good question. I mean, I haven't seen that done so much in the Western world for a variety of reasons. I mean, you're talking specifically about farm communities and people producing like that. And of course, we have Lalitanath and Dandaniti who are growing all their own food right here in the middle of the city. Pretty good. I mean, Lalitanath told me he has all the vegetables for the year and even had some left over from last year. And he learned a way to, which I'm going to go look at after the class is over, how to store things in the ground so they'll last a long time. He puts these big concrete pipes in the ground, you know, deep in the ground, and then puts the vegetables and they stay there. It's like having what we call a root cellar. And so that's actually a very good example. Ultimately, it would be good to have functioning farms. The problem with the Western people in farms is that most Western people are lazy. You know, we don't want to get our hands dirty. We don't want to start digging the ground. We like to go to the supermarket. I mean, even I do a lot of preaching in country outside of the United States and outside of Europe. I was in Fiji, which is part of my area of responsibility, and we were in one of the islands out there. Fiji is at least I'm dealing mostly with the Indian culture there. So we were out on one of the islands, and we were supposed to take one of these small planes to go somewhere else. And the plane was late, and it was breakfast time. And it was Sunday. So I said to the devotees, what are we going to do for breakfast? And they said, well, the supermarkets are closed. And this is a tropical place, remember? And I pointed to a banana tree. I said, what's that? And they said, it's a banana tree. And I said, what grows on it? And they said, bananas. I said, pick some. And then we looked at a papaya tree and did the same thing. What grows on it? Oh, papaya. Pick some. And it's interesting, they would let the fruit rot on the trees, even in a tropical place where people, anything grows, mangoes, papayas, jackfruit. Of course, you don't know what jackfruit is, but they make sabji out of it. It's very nice. Anything grows, but they would prefer to go to the supermarket and spend money. Because God forbid they should climb a papaya tree to pick some papayas from it. Or get dirty picking some bananas. And it's, in certain places, in India it's like that, so people moving to the cities, isn't it? And then buying things in the supermarket, working uber karmic jobs. Because, working on the farm is hard. I've very rarely seen someone who gets adjusted to city life able to go back to a farm. It's very, very rare for me to see that. Wow, here's one of our acharyas here. We're just talking about you. Talking about farming. So like in most of these countries here, Western European countries, also America, you import people to work on your farms. Like in America, it's the Mexicans. In Western Europe and Germany, it's the Polish people, Czechoslovakian people, and other people from some of the Eastern European countries, more east. Haven't you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Like who does the farming here?
They have machines for.
They have machines.
But Polish people, they do.
Yeah, the Polish people.
They do.
And who does most of the heavy construction work here? Polish people? Romanians. It's interesting, isn't it? The more so-called advanced you get, the lazier you get. And Prabhupada also said that modern technology increases unemployment. So unemployment means that people just sit all day long, behind a computer screen, doing useless work. People go to business school to learn how to manipulate money, how to invest, or whatever they do. It's all unemployment. I mean, we're meant to be out there in the fields, most of us are meant to be out there, isn't it? With our hands, getting the hands dirty. You know the nice thing about getting the hands dirty? You get a lot of vitamins from that. Did you know that? You didn't know that, maybe not. Vitamin B12 comes from the microbes in the soil. And when you're handling it, it comes in through the skin. I would guess, if I did a blood test in all of you, most of you would have vitamin B12 deficiency. I would almost guarantee it. Most devotees have vitamin B12 deficiency. And guess what other vitamin you get from working out? Vitamin D. You know vitamin D? It's called the sunshine vitamin. Vitamin D moderates the immune system. So when you have enough of it, you don't get allergies or colds that much. And nowadays, people are getting so many allergies. I mean, one of the recent most prominent allergies is peanut allergy. It's serious. When I was young, we would eat tons of peanuts. Nobody ever died from peanuts. Nowadays, there's some stories, some girl ate peanuts, kissed her boyfriend, and he died. True, it's a true story. So you don't find peanuts on airplanes anymore. It's true, you've heard that story already. I mean, come on, a kiss of death from a peanut. I was killed by a peanut. What would you say at that person's funeral? Poor John, he died from peanuts. But that's because of lack of vitamin D. All these allergies that people are getting, all these problems. Lack of vitamin D, which means they're not outside. They're inside all day long. They're not getting sunshine, they're not getting the microbes from the soil. Their food is very artificial, and the food's getting more and more artificial. I mean, you're worried about GMO food, but the latest thing is they're taking 3D printers and printing food. You heard about that?
Huh?
They're taking the chemicals, putting them into a 3D, you know what a 3D printer is?
Yeah.
They make weapons like that?
Yeah, they make weapons, you make guns from them, but they're taking the chemicals and putting them into and the 3D printer is printing a pizza. True. I'm not just making this up. So that not only will you not have agriculture in the future, you just be taking pills or having you know, putting your computer on, let me print me a pizza tonight, or print me a, whatever you're gonna print me a pakora. Or print me some sweet rice tonight. Things are getting really crazy. And people are living in the city, in modern industrialized countries, a very small amount of people are on the farm. You know, 2, 3, 4% on the farm. In India, it's more and more people moving to the cities. And a lot of the farmland is just laying there. And then, you know, then the GMO food, which in the beginning gives more production, but at the end causes more problems. And so that's modern science, because people are too lazy. And we find that, you know, because our devotees come from the general populace. You know, if I go around the room, who here is going to move to the farm? Frankly, you only have one person, leave them out, that I need to use, who moved to the farm. Everybody else, you know, we like having our mobile phones and computers. And I remember the first time we had a farm in this kind, it was New Vrindavan in the United States. And the devotees, Prabhupada said, simple living, high thinking. So the devotees were thinking, you know, we need to have a washing machine to wash our clothes. But there was no electricity. So, and the farm was way up on the hill, there was no way to get there except for walking. So the devotees were carrying this big washing machine up the hill. They forgot there was no electricity. They were carrying it up the hill, and Prabhupada was laughing at them and saying, Ugra karma. You know this story? He was laughing, he said, Ugra karma, you know, just like unnecessary, too much work, crazy work. And so they were carrying it up the hill, just because they didn't want to wash their clothes in the stream. But Prabhupada wanted that simple living, high thinking, you know, where you plow the land with oxen or organic things. But it hasn't really happened in the West, not so much. I can't. You know, Hungary, they're doing a lot of nice work there. But in general, I can't think of any farms that we have in America, for example, that are really functioning on the basis that Prabhupada wanted them. Because we're all lazy, including me. I'm not finding fault with anybody. We're all, you know, we're just used to this easy life. Turn on the hot water, isn't it? In the old days, when I joined the movement, there was no hot water. Nowadays, you go into the bathroom after the brahmachari is taking a shower and it's all steamed up. What temple was I in? I was just in a temple. Oh yeah. I was just in a temple where it's like that. I visited, I forget which temple it was I was in, but I went to the temple and I couldn't see myself in the bathroom because there was like a steam bath inside. Brahmachari had just taken a half-hour shower. But in the old days, this is in New York, you have no hot water, and you just turn it like needles piercing your body. But you still have to take a shower. And you get adjusted to that austerity, and you get to like it after a while, isn't it? Prabhupada said that should be the training in Gurukula too. How the children should enjoy austerity. But we're somehow or other addicted to a more comfortable form of life. We need beds and everything like that. I mean, just like one time, I wanted to just sleep on the floor, and the disciples wouldn't let me sleep on the floor. You know, I took my mattress and threw it away, and just put a blanket on the floor. So I want to live like this. And then next day I walked in, there was a bigger mattress on the floor. You know, space-age foam.